what we call a restaurant takeover.
Everybody had a hand in this. It's amazing.
We need to all incorporate sustainable practices in our individual lives for us to have a better future.
Hello and welcome everyone to the MyGBC podcast. Today I am thrilled to be your host as we delve into the fascinating world of the Center for Hospitality and Culinary Arts' latest journey that they started. This was a long process, but on April 9th, something really remarkable happened, and it was the launch of Citronino vodka, which is a product with a really compelling backstory. So this vodka isn't just any spirit, it's the culmination of an innovative project aimed at recycling waste from classrooms and transitioning it into a more valuable distillate. So it's even actually more exciting as there was a whole process, there was a lot of people involved in it, and I was actually privileged enough to be a part of this project as well. And how it happened was that a few months ago, Tammy, who is one of the project leaders, and she's actually a very nice person as well, she reached out to me to design the packaging for the vodka bottles. And so as a result, I kind of started doing a lot of research, and I collaborated with a bunch of the CHCA folks, and as well as the Ray Distillery, which is a distillery that collaborated with George Brown to kind of bring this vodka to life as well. But my involvement was really just one little piece of the puzzle. Many other partners and other students contributed to this project, and it was actually a success. But unfortunately, I missed the launch event because I got very sick, as you can probably still hear it in my voice. But luckily, our producer, Claire, was able to make it to the event, and she was able to capture the excitement and the insights for all of us. And without further ado, I'm gonna say hi to Claire, and I'm actually, Claire, very much jealous that you were able to attend this event. But yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I was really sad that you couldn't be there, but
I know.
yeah, I'm glad that you're feeling better now.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a really interesting event, and as it turned out, the culmination of a really interesting project, which I didn't know barely anything about. I think you knew more about it than I did at the start.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like I drove in technically. And I was actually really late. I was an hour late, and I was really stressed out because it was like, oh my God, I was stuck in traffic, and I was just getting really, you know how you feel when you're stuck in traffic and you're late for something, and you're kind of like blaming traffic, blaming yourself, like, oh, it's stressful. No one feels good about it. And so I finally got there, parked, like speed walked to the chef's house, which is where it was being held. Got there, got in, I gave them my name, and they had a table set aside for me. It was actually a table for two because you were supposed to be there and then you couldn't make it. But
oh my God, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It actually worked out because I had brought my recording equipment. I do have a little portable recorder, which I mostly use, but I had brought my laptop as a backup redundancy plan. So I needed the space to put my laptop on the table.
Great.
So that was all good. And so this was a room that was like jam-packed with people, loud, lots of conversation, lots of voices and some background music, and lots of people, students, I imagine, chef's school students working and serving the tables. So I kind of like snuck into my table and tried not to make too much of a ruckus in the event. Sat down. I was immediately given this bracelet. It was a bracelet that you put on and then you like put it against your phone, and then it opens automatically the website to the project.
Oh, okay.
So I was told to put on this bracelet and like tap it on my phone, and then it opened the website with all the information. But before I say more about that, let me just play an audio clip of the introduction that they gave about the drink at the event. This is one of the students involved, whose name was Stefan, and also Kelvin, who was one of the owners of the distillery partner, Reed Distillery. So I'll play it for you.
Hello everyone. So this exciting beverage that you have in front of you is our Citronino Sour, featuring grape juice, Reed's gin, Citronino, and citrus. This drink serves to be an ode to the collaboration between George Brown College and Reed's Distillery. We have been experimenting with citric acid and grape juice to create the citrus flavor without having to import even more lemons, which don't grow quite well here in the winter. This beverage is sweet, tart, and beautifully delicious. Please enjoy. I would now like to bring out Calvin from Reeds to give us a little talk about.
Thank you everyone for coming out today. This is incredible. I started this distillery with my brother, my sister, and my dad almost 5 years ago. 5 years next month. Happy 5 years for us. And thank you. And I cannot remember a project that was more fun to work on than this one. And I think the reason why that is all of the passion that was brought to it. Tammy, Doris, Chris, all of your passion as educators really just set the tone for absolutely everyone. All of the students that I've met, both here tonight as well as through the distilling process, was incredible. And it helps as well to have a passionate team at the distillery. Fran, Franco, thank you so much for giving a huge help with this as well. This product was an absolute joy to be able to create from conception. We are very happy that it turned out as well as it did. The last thing that I would want is to have Chris and his team have to peel up another 100 pounds of citrus for a version number 2. But we are thrilled with how it has turned out, and hopefully we can be seeing Citronino batches 2 and 3 and 4 in the years to come. So thank you for coming out and supporting everyone.
So that was the introduction that they gave. And then right after that, they handed out to everybody these VR headsets. So everyone at all the tables, there was probably like, I think, 50 people there. Every individual person was given a VR headset.
Okay.
Now, I ended up having to give mine away to someone whose theirs wasn't working, and that's okay because I had my own work to do to observe the event and take recording of it. So I was just sitting in this room watching all these people wearing VR headsets. And there was a screen also showing kind of, I think it was showing what the people with the headsets were watching or were kind of experiencing, which was a video of the students in their labs, like using the product and working on it and developing it.
Nice.
So yeah. So I kind of got to see, what was going on with the VR headsets. But then it wasn't until I kind of like talked to some of the people involved where I learned a little bit more about the background of the project. Now I know that you were actually involved in it yourself. You, like you said in your introduction, you did
a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what did they tell you about it before, like when you were given the assignment? Like, did you know anything about this project, and what were your kind of impressions of it?
Yeah, I for sure did know a bit about it. We had a couple of meetings with all of the folks that you actually talked about in the event, Doris, Chris, Calvin, as well as Tammy. But it was at that point actually a secret, so we weren't really supposed to know much about it. But I knew that there was going to be this project involving a lot of students as well as like other partners. And they just told me, like, I remember Tammy telling me that we're trying to get as many people as well as students possible on this project, just because this is supposed to be like a collaborative project and like something good is supposed to come out of it. So that's why I was involved. But I wasn't definitely like the only student designer. I think there were definitely other designers working on the project. I was just responsible for like the packaging.
Right. And can you tell me just a little bit about the designing for the packaging, the label of the bottle, and how you came up with it?
We realized that the name that we wanted to go for is Citronino, which has its roots in Italy. So inspired by that, we decided to design a set of floral patterns that kind of are very much traditionally seen in the Italian art, as well as the tile work that we have in Italy. And we mix that with our beloved GBC Huskies because that's our mascot, Huskies.
Go Huskies.
But yeah, like honestly, it sounded like it was a very interesting project. And again, like I really missed not being able to come there. And I was just gonna actually say about the headset and what you saw. I remember they were talking about it in the meeting that we had that they were gonna like record the whole process, like you mentioned, like the students actually working in the labs, but also I think they went to the distillery itself and they recorded the process of like actually making this Citronino come to life. So I feel like seeing that in VR, that would be very interesting. And I actually emailed Tammy and I was like, I know I didn't come to the event. My bad. I was really sick, but can you send me that video as well as like some pictures?
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, she just got back to me. I saw her email, so I'm gonna see that probably after this podcast.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad you'll be able to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, there were a lot of people involved, a lot of students involved, as I learned. And like you mentioned, collaboration was actually kind of the key to making this all work. So as the night went on, I had a chance to talk to some of the masterminds behind this project and learn the background of it all. So I spoke to Doris McEwen Bradley, who is a professor and program coordinator in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management. And she sparked the vision for this whole project, actually, based on her experience as a wine tasting judge in the US.
Nice.
She met a company there called Misadventure Vodka, who used fruit scraps to create their beverages as well. So she kind of got that idea and then she brought it to Tammy, and the two of them reached out to Chris Bain. Chris is a professor in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management as well, and is the lead teacher of the mixology courses. So Chris found a partner who could produce the product, which was Reed's Distillery. And then they got lots of students involved. So I'll play you a clip from my conversation with Chris. And just to note that you'll have to excuse the background noise in most of these recordings since it was in a busy dining hall. But here's what Chris said.
The idea was Tammy and Doris, and they came to me and said, "Do you want to get involved?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Okay, so your job is finding a partner," and which we got. Reed's was right on board right away. We just went and asked, and they were like, "Snap, yes, no problem." And I said, "Really?" And so that was September, and my job was production. So, I mean, Doris also, her classes helped collect the waste. Our classes helped collect the waste. We got our 100 pounds, and then from there we went to Reed's and the production started. So the maceration, the distillation, the bottling, part of the design, everything that production side, so we looked after that. And Doris and Tammy really looked after all of the organization and the hiring and all the hard stuff. So I got to do the
So Chris got to do the easy jobs, apparently. But it seemed like it was mostly like Chris, Tammy, and Doris who were kind of organizing this. But
Yeah.
a lot of students were involved, as I mentioned. And some of the students were hired by the college. And they were hired for various different roles that were also sort of integrated into their classroom work. So here's Tammy talking about the roles of the students.
So we had specific students just for the production, specific students for the focus group, and then specific students for the research piece. So no student had a duplicate role. Yeah. So we hired a lot of students. Yeah. And then all the students are already studying hospitality, and every single one of our hospitality students automatically has to take a beverage course. So it's directly applied to what they're doing in the classroom.
So some of the students were involved just through their beverage courses, which Chris talks more about here.
We estimate probably 200, 300, 400 students donated to their garnishes or their citrus or their whatever, what have you. So if we're in the mixology lab and there's 30 students, somebody cuts a couple of garnishes rather than throwing that in the compost. We'd process it, we'd throw it into the freezer. So and then that all gets processed after.
So yeah, students were obviously a huge part of this project, using their garnishes, putting their garnishes from the mixology lab. So I guess it's like garnishes that they use on cocktails and drinks.
Yeah.
So that was about like almost 400 students who were doing that in their labs. And as Tammy mentioned, in terms of like the hired roles, there were about 200 to 250 students hired for specific roles. So they really made an effort to involve students and also to hire students and pay them, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, I actually didn't know it's like that many students, like 200. I mean, the people that volunteered for sure, like, that's great. But I mean, the ones that were like actually hired for the project, that's like a lot, like 200 people just for that. And honestly, kudos to the college for like paying all of these people. That's really helpful for all the students. So I think that was a really, really great initiative.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how the funding was provided for that as well. But first, I want to talk about how the sustainability aspect was the main theme of the Citronino drink project. And like that's important to the students as well. I spoke to Stefan, who was one of the students involved in the project, and this is what he was saying about that.
The degradation of our environment across the world as a result of our actions being unsustainable, it's very shocking and very, in some cases it's heartbreaking to see that, the world that we grew up in as kids is not the same anymore. This winter was the warmest on record for North America. And so ecosystems are changing, climates are changing all over the world. And I think now more than ever, we need to all incorporate sustainable practices in our individual lives for us to have a better future.
So those ideas of environmental impact are on students' minds as well. And so it's important to them to be involved in a project that's focused on sustainability.
Sure.
But the other aspect of this that really made it impactful was the fact that it was all about collaboration. So I spoke more with Tammy and I started realizing how important that collaboration was for the sustainability project to really work, because Tammy learned from the Inventory Control Center, first of all, about what type of waste could even be used well for a project like this.
Okay.
And then it turned out that she could use the ICC's freezer space as well for all the scraps of lemons and limes.
So then we just had to ask the Inventory Control Center for freezer space, so that as we collected and weighed and monitored and had the waste, that we'd had a place to freeze it.
Then they also reached out to an external partner, as was mentioned earlier. Reed's Distillery was the distillery that processed and made the product with the scraps. And they also got funding through Ignite, which is George Brown's funding department.
So then we applied through Ignite, which is our internal innovation funding. And so we applied and we ended up getting the maximum amount that you can get for a project. And then that's when we said, okay, so once we knew that there was interest, there's certain parameters to get Ignite funding. So student involvement, external partner. The external partner needed to contribute an equal amount that Ignite was giving. It needs to be researched, it needs to be published. You need to have a certain percentage going to students, a certain percentage going into all the categories. And so then when we got the funding, then we started from there.
So yeah, it was really lucky that they got all that funding from Ignite. And as she mentioned, also Reed's had to match that funding as well. So they were a really important part of the collaboration, not just in actually producing the product,
Sure.
but in like really investing in it as well. And the other thing about collaboration that's important is you need people like Tammy to just do the grunt work, the paperwork. You need people who will store the product in their freezer. You need people who will produce it in their distillery, people who provide the funding, and people who just do the paperwork.
But I'm more of I'll apply for funding, I'll do the budget, I'll do the paperwork, I'll do everything with the REB, the Research Ethics Board, and all that stuff is a lot, right? Like the paper side of things, and that is a lot different than working with the partner or the distillation or the collection of the waste. So that side is my kind of what I do.
For sure, like it's a lot of work, but then like when you actually go to the event and you drink it, the like vodka, you're like, oh yeah, that was nice, but like it's like months and months of planning. Like I personally, I think started working on this project like 2-3 months ago, and I think I was still like not probably the first person who started working. So this definitely took like months of planning.
Oh yeah. Also, she mentions again Chris Bain's role and Doris's role in the project.
Chris's job was to find the industry partner and go to the distillation, even though me and Doris were at all stages. And then Doris was more the student focus group and hiring the students and making sure that each of them had different roles.
So yeah, obviously a lot of people were involved. And as I mentioned before as well, the 200 to 250 students who were in hired roles as well. So again, going back to the sustainability piece, it's like everyone who you collaborate with has to also like be on board to support a sustainability project. And I really got the sense when I was there that everyone was passionate about this project being something sustainable. So here's the Reeds brothers.
And the ability to grow that with this next extra step, which is creative and fun and sustainable, was an easy yes. Yeah, for sure. I don't think.
And also, Tammy mentioned how, as the process was going along, and I don't know if you were, part of this part too, where she said a lot of students really stood behind the ethic of sustainability and even contributed like their own sort of opinions and thoughts about it as well along the way.
When you want to do something that stands behind a priority, it's making sure that every single decision stands behind that priority. And throughout the process, there were many times that students said, well, have you thought about it this way? Because this outcome isn't sustainable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, when I got involved, I think we weren't really producing the product yet, but when it comes to sharing like my ideas, I think I did a little bit of idea sharing when we were doing like the design itself. But I'm not sure how it was like exactly for the students who were actually involved in the production.
Okay, well, so some students, like yourself, maybe spoke up a little bit and said, have you thought about it this way? She mentioned something specifically where they were going to put the QR code for information about the product as a sort of like necktie.
Oh yeah, like I remember, yeah, it was supposed to be like a necktie, like a little printed tag that would go around the bottleneck. But yeah, we decided not to do that just because again, like that's printing more and it's like more paper and stuff.
Was that
So
you, or
that
do you remember who mentioned that, or was it just sort of?
I think it was just like a general conversation we had in one of our meeting with like everyone, like Chris, Doris, Calvin, and Tammy. We were talking about it, and somebody brought it up, and then as a group, we realized that it's probably not the most sustainable choice, to go with a bottleneck, and instead we actually added the QR code to the back of the product
Right.
because obviously like a bottle it has like a label on the front and the back. The front obviously couldn't have like a QR code, and it's like a small label. Like you got to consider it's a very, very small like square that we were printing. So we ended up putting it on the back label, and I had to actually run a few tests to make sure, oh, like, is this QR code going to be big enough to be scannable or not? But luckily it was big enough, so we ended up just doing that instead of printing extra paper for the bottles. And it would have been fine if it was like one bottle, but again, we were like producing a bunch, so it wasn't the most sustainable choice, and we had to kind of change directions.
Yeah, and I think that was a great idea. Like, I'm really glad that people spoke up about it, and it sounds like also it's great that there was room to have those conversations between students and staff and professors. It sounds like everyone was kind of on the same playing field in a way.
For sure. Yeah, I think because it's like definitely like it was a new project. It's not like a course that like a professor has been teaching for like 20 years and they know all about it. Like we were all exploring together. So I think the team from GBC and Reed, they were all very open to suggestions, and it was nice to kind of be in that environment where like people actually listen to you rather than like you're dictated what to do, especially as a student who doesn't have a lot of experience. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's the other great thing about a project like this. It's like that type of collaboration where like everyone's coming in on the same playing field in a way, and everyone's skills are valuable and needed. So everyone has to listen to each other.
For sure.
Another thing that I really picked up on was that being part of a hands-on project like this really affects your motivation to do more sustainability work, because learning about, the destruction of the environment in theory can be, helpful as a starting point, but it's also good to really dig in and try actually doing something about it to sort of get a sense of how that works and how you could be effective in the future as well. So when I was speaking to the student Stefan, he mentioned at first like they had watched some documentaries in class about the environment.
We had to watch like a couple documentaries and, you know, kind of answer some questions that got us thinking. And these assignments weren't necessarily, you know, a definition or something that they were looking for. They were like, how did watching this video make you feel? How can you relate to it? You know, how did you feel?
Yeah, so watching them is a good starting point to sort of think about it, but then there's a difference between doing that and actually feeling a sense of accomplishment after you take action and realize that you can do something to reduce waste and do something to affect change.
Yeah.
Stefan kind of mentioned like that sustainability was more on his mind after having been involved in this project.
I would say after going through this program that sustainability has been more on my mind and more at the forefront of my priorities. And our whole theme tonight is about sustainability. So it's definitely become something that's really important to me now.
Also, Tammy was talking about that sort of difference between learning in a textbook and actually doing practical work. And she also mentions just like how being part of something shifts your mindset.
So often we talk about it from a textbook standpoint, we talk about it from a theoretical standpoint, but the minute that you're part of something and you experience it and you're making decisions on it, all of a sudden your own individual mindset shifts. So if that can happen to us.
And then there's one more clip also when I was speaking to the Reeds brothers, how they were really feeling that motivation after having gone through this process as well.
There's nothing to describe this feeling of, we often produce a product and then it kind of goes to an LCBO shelf. Yeah. And where it goes from there, it's hard to know. Seeing this, we're like, oh no, this is a lot of people's passion and work.
So everyone was really passionate about their involvement in the work, and I think it really sparked more motivation to do something similar towards a sustainability project again.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. Honestly, something that I would say about this is that I think the biggest accomplishment and something that came out of this whole project wasn't necessarily those drinks and that whole event. It was more about the education that the students received, because it's actually one of my biggest beliefs when it comes to sustainability, that a lot of it is a change in mindset. Like, we need a shift in mindset. Otherwise, if you keep talking about it in school and like you say it in theory to people, it's helpful. Like, I think it really impacted me personally when I heard about it in theory in school. But changing the mindset, it's a whole different level, because a lot of people, they do have habits, like when it comes to like how do they dispose of their food waste or whatever, that it just like it always existed. That's how their parents did it. That's how they are used to doing it. They don't really question it. But if you actually teach them practically, oh, this is how you can do it, it's very easy. Like you putting like the waste in this garbage bin instead of this one.
Yeah.
It's really not going to take you like anything extra to do. But just showing them what it can do can really lead to a mindset shift that I think is extremely important in this day and age, that like a lot of people are just doing things without thinking about it. And it's really, really impacting our environment in a very negative way. So yes, I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there is some education needed to let people know as well more about those details of like, this is what can go in this bin, this is what can't. And there are some of those signs up. So it's also about like, pay attention to those signs that show you what can go in, what can't. So yeah, it's like, it needs to be sort of an ongoing effort, I guess, between people and also those in charge providing the bins and the resources for everyone to try and make this work, you know?
Yeah.
The other thing that I got from people was that there is hope that this type of project could continue in the future. So I heard from Stefan, I heard from Chris, I heard from the Reeds distillery, that everyone was really sort of like inspired by this and wanted to produce something like this again in the future.
I think this is a beautiful example of what we can achieve when we think creatively, when we think sustainably. I certainly hope that more projects like this will come about in the future.
Ultimately, I think that we can embed this in our curriculum.
It might be. Honestly, it's picked up a lot of traction, so I think this might be a recurring, maybe an annual thing that we end up doing. So we've been pretty fortunate in that we've all got to taste batch 1 tonight, but hopefully there's many more batches to come.
So in summary, what I learned, I guess, is that sustainability requires this sort of collaboration. It requires reaching out to people, talking to them, sharing information, recognizing people's different skills, and really being involved in a hands-on way in order to sort of build your knowledge and motivate you to do more of that work and to try and really live sustainably. So I'm sort of like, after I came away from this event, I was like, wow, should I like go to a, river cleanup day or something? Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of those where they're like
Yeah,
an annual, like, come volunteer to clean out the river. And it's like, okay, yeah, and we're not going to get every piece of trash in the river, but like just going there and being involved in it could actually maybe shift your mindset a bit to try and work on these things a little bit more and to put more effort in, not just as individuals, but like everyone has to be putting the effort in. The people
for sure.
in charge of, of the resources as well as individuals. And also the other thing is just like a collaboration like this really works when everyone's really aligned and passionate about the goal. I sensed a lot of passion from everyone there. And yeah, I'll just play you this last clip from the Reeds brothers talking about how going through the process, everyone was on board and inspired to contribute those ideas.
Everyone that we talked to along the way was encouraged and excited by this project. So there's no, dampening the ideas or the excitement. It all just kind of built and snowballed. Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, it was overall just a really great learning experience for me and inspiring, just as like someone who was not even involved in the project at all. I just came from the outside and I kind of like picked up on all these things that had really gone into it. So, kudos to you for being involved in it. It was a really wonderful project. And I, for one, am looking forward to the next round of this project, as people have sort of hinted at maybe another product being made. Because by the way, the Citronino vodka is very delicious as well. So,
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm actually, I really was hoping that I would be able to come to the event. But I think that's the most important thing about it, is that it actually made someone like you that was not involved in it in any way to think about these ideas of like sustainability and what was happening to the planet. So that's what it was supposed to do, and it did it. And obviously, the cherry on top is the fact that like we were able to avoid letting all of this lemon peels going to waste, and that was definitely really nice to see as well. But yeah, generally, like I would say, great project, great initiative. Really, it was very nice of Tammy, Chris, Calvin, and Doris to do all of this work to make this happen. It was definitely a lot of organization and planning, but the result turned out great. And what I know for sure is that if there is going to be another event, I'm going to definitely somehow make sure that I'm getting there, because I was very jealous. I know you guys had a like 3-course meal as well. So, like,
yeah, I didn't want to
should
talk too
get
much
there.
about that because I didn't want you to feel too bad.
Yeah, it's okay. I know it happened. We heard about it. It's apparently, it was cooked by the students as well, right? Like all the
Yeah,
meals.
yeah, yeah, it was quite good. But that's neither here nor there. And hopefully you will be able to go to one of these events again. And
Yeah.
you're on campus sometimes, right? Like,
Yeah, I go to the waterfront campus. Yeah.
okay, so you're close enough to the chef's house and also to at 300 King. I think there's like you can also buy food from the chef school there.
Yeah. I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, like if any of our listeners they don't know, the Chef's House is actually a student-operated restaurant, technically, right? Like I haven't been to it, but I've heard it's like a fully operating restaurant that is like completely
Yeah.
run by students. So yeah, that should be very interesting to explore. Like I honestly wanted to go, but some other day, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you'll have other opportunities to go.
Yeah,
And I encourage anyone who's listening to this episode to check out the Chef's House at 215 King Street East. You can make reservations by giving them a call or finding their email contact and more info on their website, which is www.thechefshouse.com.
Mhm.
Anyway, thank you for listening to my big journey and learning experience and letting me know also about your insights into the project as well. I'm excited for
Sure.
hopefully some more sustainability projects like this to happen at George Brown.
For sure. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And yeah, I think that was it. thank you everyone for joining us today and listening to this. I would assume probably a longer episode that we recorded.
Yeah.
But this was a very interesting project that we were excited about. One of the initiatives of George Brown College. We hope that there is going to be more projects coming. We think there is going to be more projects coming based on the conversations that we heard. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.